Oh my. Hey, thank you for taking time for hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. It's been a long time since you last heard from me, but I'm back.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for him. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, time for help! Yeah!
My name is Casper Leitch, and I am the host of a program called Time for Hemp that made its debut in 1991 on community cable access in California. And ever since then, the little TV show grew into a radio show that grew into a broadcasting network. And around 2017, it became such a large production and so much was going on with it that it became too much for me to do, and I didn't have a team of people at the time, and so I decided it was time to retire. And so from 1991 to 2017, Time for Hemp did a lot of interviews with a lot of people around the world that were focused on ending cannabis prohibition, and it was a lot of fun, to say the least. And we're going to be sharing some of the archives in the future with our new broadcasts that we're going to be doing. And I can certainly tell you, I'm pretty happy and pretty content being here in retirement. I got a lovely place to chill out. I sit on my back porch at night, look at my backyard, look at the fountain and the pond in my backyard. There's two of them back there that light up, surrounded by beautiful woods. I'm not in any hurry to come back to work. I really am enjoying my retirement. And it's been a while since I've been working with editing programs and doing interviews and all the things that go with putting together a smart broadcast. I've only done one thing since 2017, and that was on April 20th, 2020. That was the year everybody was suddenly locked down, and the hemp movement was planning to do all kinds of great 420 celebrations that they couldn't do. So I did a Zoom call that started in Portland, Oregon at 4:20 a.m. on April 20th, 2020. And then as each time zone changed, we found an activist in that time zone to talk about what was going on in their neck of the woods as far as medical marijuana or the industrial hemp movement. And we went all the way around the world. It has a very impressive hemp activists that you might want to tune in and check it out. You'll find it on the website. But I was bummed too that I had to give it up. But you know, sometimes something is just too big to handle, and it was either go big or go home, and I couldn't get any bigger by myself. So I retired, and I made a promise to a friend of mine, the guy who hired me, as a matter of fact, Jack Hare, hired me in 1989 to handle his office while he was working on a book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. And it was a groundbreaking book, to say the least. And he was going on tour to do promotions for the book, speaking at universities, speaking at coliseums, speaking at different events and festivities, about the importance of bringing cannabis hemp back to the farmer as a cash crop. And so he couldn't be running his office and on the road at the same time. So he hired me to run his office, and it was an honor. It was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of really interesting people. one of the things that Jack Hare made certain that I did was pledge to be a cannabis activist. When I was hired by Jack, the day I was hired, I was at his office in Venice Beach, and they were working on the California Hemp Initiative. They were working on the writing on it so that they could present it to the state and get it on the ballot. This was in 1989. They were working on this. And when I went in to start work for Jack, before I went to work for Jack, in front of all his friends, he made me raise my hand and say, I, Casper Leitch, promise to be a cannabis hemp activist until age 65, or until it's legal in every state and all around the world, or I'm dead, whichever comes first. And I kept my promise to Jack. And I tell people I'm almost 100. You know, that way people say I look good for my age, right? You know, I'm 100. Wow. You know, what are you doing? But I'm well past my expiration date on that promise. I can say that. And it was my job to get the books out that was ordered by the bookstores, and the T-shirts that he offered, and to help get the petitioners rounded up for the petition drive we were doing in California. Jack had put together a thing called the California Hemp Initiative, and that also kept him busy. He and his buddy named Captain Ed were focused on ending cannabis prohibition in the state of California. They've been doing it since the 1970s. So the guy who hired me was truly one of the founding fathers of the hemp movement. And Captain Ed was Jack Hare's mentor, and Captain Ed is truly, if not the founder, one of the very first founders of the hemp movement. These two wonderful spirits hired me to work alongside them, and it was quite an honor, and I learned a lot from those two and the people around them, and I met a lot of wonderful people along the way. Over the years, I've been to so many different events and so many different places because of my love for the people in the cannabis hemp movement and my determination to let the whole world know that it really is time for hemp.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network.
We're going to be talking a little bit more about my former boss, Jack Hare. May he rest in peace. Jack, a very, very inspirational individual to a lot of people. And when I met Jack Hare, I was working at a science supply store in Van Nuys, California. And Jack was getting ready to go on tour to speak about how important it was to end cannabis hemp prohibition and make hemp a cash crop again for American farmers, and all the wonderful things that could be made from it. And he was wanting to get banners made at the science supply shop, big, large banners that he could hang around the stadiums and the festivals that he was going to be speaking at, that would say hemp for paper, hemp for fiber, hemp for fuel, and prohibition. And he was having these banners made up. And when he came in, my boss, who was about 10 years younger than me and a liberal Californian, was also a non-cannabis user. And when Jack was telling my boss the type of work he needed done, my boss excused himself and came over to me and said, "Casper, I think these are your kind of people." And I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I think they smoke marijuana." So, which I was pretty obvious that I did. Always been that way since I can remember. But anyway, so I went over and started taking Jack's order, and he and I got into a little interesting conversation, and I mentioned to Jack that I was a marijuana user, and I found it interesting the type of book he was doing. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Jack started hypnotizing me started filling me in about all these interesting facts about cannabis that I'd never heard of.
Marijuana, the hemp plant, was our Earth's #1 paper, fiber, and fuel. All our sails, ropes, books, Bibles, maps, covered wagons, towels, diapers until about this century. Imagine, 85% of history wasn't taught to us, but they made us learn about jute and sisal and flax and reindeer and cotton. But when almost all of it was hemp until the middle of the last century. It's a wonderful system that we have, that we put our kids in jail for growing a plant that is the best medicinal, that nobody's ever died from, that federal judge Francis Young said is the safest therapeutically active substance known to man. And this is what we put people in jail for, a medicine that's the best medicine that we know of on earth, for chemotherapy, nausea, for multiple sclerosis, for asthma. So my own children are asthmatics, and my children smoke pot for their asthma, and it worked, and it saved them. My kids are in the top 2% of the class. I hope to teach everybody this information, and I hope to make the enemies madder at the system that didn't teach them anything than at us, who want to teach them all about what paper was, what fiber was, what fuel. You can make all this stuff naturally, as we once did before, but now at a fraction of the cost, and save the planet with the healthiest plant on earth. And this we've outlawed. The #1 plant out of 3.5 million plants for paper, for fiber, for fuel. No more trees cut down. No more trees ever cut down for paper, because you can make much better and healthier and cheaper paper for the earth and the rivers around it out of a plant that's outlawed.
Well, anyway, I filled Jack's order, and Jack left, and over the next couple of days, Jack called in occasionally to check on his order and see how things were going. And he liked my customer service on the phone. He liked my customer service over the counter. And when he came in to pick up his banners, he told me what he was doing, and that he was going to be going on tour. He'd be back in a couple of weeks. And when he got back, he wanted to talk to me about hiring me to run his office, to ship out his T-shirts, to ship out his books, and to keep track of his engagements and book his airline tickets. And I told him no. I was really happy where I was at, but thank you, but no thank you. And Jack and I shook hands, and we parted. We went different directions. And about, a month and a half later, Jack came back into the store and ordered some more banners. And during the time that he was ordering banners, he and I talked more about his tour and what he was doing from campus to campus. And he was telling me how many more people were learning about how important hemp was as a cash crop, and how you can make paper out of it, fuel out of it, and how he was enjoying what he was doing. And he suggested again that I come to work for him, and I let him know I was working for like a little mom and pop operation. I'd been with him for about a year or so. I was a bicycle ride away from work each day. My boss knew I got high. There was no pressure. I just had a lot of fun where I was at. The pay was good. I didn't need to change job. I was interested in becoming a comedy writer, living out there in the Hollywood area. I thought maybe I could get on a comedy magazine, or maybe get involved in some comedy writing, some skits or something. Working with the hemp movement, it really had no interest in me, especially at that time, with a gentleman writing an underground book. That's what they were considered then, underground books. And I thanked him, but no thanked him. And again, over the next couple of days, he called in to check on his orders. And when he came back in to pick them up again, he offered me a job, and I turned him down. And I figured that would be the end of it. But no. Much to my surprise, about a month later, Jack came back in to order some more banners. He was speaking all across America. He was filling up auditoriums. He was packing small events. He was speaking at Rotary clubs and in front of dignitaries, and doing interesting debates at college campuses. And so it was interesting to hear what he had to share. And He told me that the writers of High Times magazine was coming out to his house to launch his new book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and he wanted to know if I wanted to come out and be part of the party, and well, maybe, I don't know. He gave me his address, and he and his son, Mark, left, and I figured that was the end of it. Nope. When Mark came back in to pick up the order in a couple of days, he made it a point to arrive about the time our shop was closing. And he told me that his dad was kind of disappointed that I didn't show up for the book launch, and was hoping that maybe I'd come out and see his dad sometime soon and talk about a job. And I went, no, I'm happy where I'm at. Mark paid for the banners and walked out of the store. And about 15 minutes later, I clocked out, headed out to hop on my bicycle, and Mark was out there in a van, and he honked his horn, and I looked over, and he waved me over, and I walked over with my bicycle, and he said, hey, really, my dad would like to talk to you. And I was wondering, he's out at Venice Beach, and he wanted me to bring you out to talk to him about maybe working for him. He really wants you to come to work for him and run his office. He likes the way you handle customers, and he needs that for his office. And I said, no, I'm really happy where I'm at. And Mark pulled a joint out of his pocket and said, hey, it's 4:19. If you've got a minute, that would be great. He said, I'll give you a ride back. And if you don't like what my dad has to say, no problem. Just come out and listen to him. That's all we ask. Just come out and listen to him. So I put my 12-speed into the van and got into the front seat. Mark and I smoked a really nice joint. Of course, I mean, you know, Jack Hare, goodness, one of the founding fathers of the hemp movement, you know he had good herb. And when I got out to Venice Beach, the place was packed with people who were busy working on the California Hemp Initiative. And there was an energy that you could just feel when you walked in, a real positive energy of happy people focused on trying to make the world a better place, people just relaxed with one another's company. It was just a really nice vibe. And I hear in the background, hey, there's my new office manager. And I looked around, and there was Jack Hare with a big smile on his face and another joint to hand me and said, let's talk, Casper. I think you might like working here. Well, Jack offered me a nice weekly wage, and I said, you know, I'm still making good money where I'm at, and I'm not that interested. And he said, well, you know, we'll hire one of your friends. That way you've got an assistant to help you with your work. And I said, well, you know, I'm working with family and friends where I'm at now. And I don't want to take a bus from Van Nuys, California out to Venice Beach every day to work. And he said, well, I've got 4 or 5 cars around here that I'm not using. I'll give you a car, put it in your name, pay for the insurance, even pay the gas. And I went, well, I hate to drive. He said, well, have your assistant drive for you. You can have the car, have an assistant. And I said, yeah, I'm really happy where I'm at. And in the back room, I hear his best friend, Captain Ed Adair, scream across the room, and I'll give you an ounce of pot every Friday. And I went, well, I can start Monday. And that's how I started working for Jack Hare in 1989. And I can certainly tell you, working in the science supply shop and working in the straight world, and then working for Jack Hare and working in the legalized cannabis world was as different as night and day. Well, then again, so is being retired and coming back to work. That's also a difference between night and day. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm doing this job because of Jack Hare. It used to agitate Jack that people would refer to his book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, as the Bible of the marijuana movement, the Bible of the hemp movement. And I asked him, why do you hate that? He says, because, you know, Casper, anytime you go to a church, everybody expects to get a free Bible. And it's from the sale of my books that I'm able to afford to go to different campuses and different events to talk about how important it is to make hemp a cash crop again. And if I give it away for free, I can't travel. So I don't know. It really agitates me that it's considered the Bible of the hemp movement, but it's also an honor. Well, so he was really pleased with the way people received his work. And it certainly had a major impact on generations even today. So it was quite an honor to work with Jack Hare. I really enjoyed it, to say the least. It was life-changing, truly a life-changing event to meet Jack Hare and to go to work for the cannabis hemp movement and to help end prohibition all around the world. It was really interesting, the number of people who learned about Jack's book or from what points of the globe they were at. And so that's why I mean it was working for Jack. It was so much different than I'd ever experienced in any type of job ever before. I was working for somebody who was changing the world, truly working hard to change the world. And he was an historian, and that was another reason why people called Jack's office a lot, was they was calling Jack to share information that he was trying to put together. And Jack would find information about hemp from all different types of people, from different points of the planet, and different areas, different fields. I mean, some people would be involved in the paper making industry, some were involved in cloth making, some were involved in the food industry, some people were just historians. And what Jack managed to put together was a very interesting compilation of historical facts and almost got lost and would have never been known to future generations had it not been for his research. I remember one time I was at the Earth Day event in San Francisco. We were doing filming there. I think it was 91. Yeah, it was 1991 Earth Day event. I was interviewing Gatewood Galbraith, who was also a friend of Jack Hare's. And Gate was running for governor of Kentucky on the hemp platform, and how it would be important to the Kentucky farmers and the Kentucky workers to reintroduce hemp as a vital cash crop. And he felt that just by that alone would be enough to get him into office. And he almost did win the governor race a couple of times. Pretty interesting. Gatewood Galbraith was quite a charismatic individual. Well, anyway, I was interviewing Gatewood at the Earth Day event in San Francisco, and Jack Hare came rushing over. He had just gotten the facts about a car that Henry Ford had developed using hemp for the auto body, using hemp for the cloth inside the car, and using hemp to run it as its its fuel source. And Jack knew that information was somewhere, but it was almost impossible to unearth. And after much telephone calling and having people doing a lot of legwork on the ground to go to different museums, Jack did come across finally the documentation that verified that Henry Ford did indeed create a hemp car.
Government that tells you that the solution to a present-day problem is doubling the prison population over the next 20 years has its head stuck where it's never going to discover the 1,000 points of light of George Bush. In my opinion, these people's idea of future full employment is to make half of us prison guards and the other half prisoners. This man is an alien. He's not a conservative. He's an alien. He and Ronald Reagan both. They are willing to imprison a whole generation of people to keep intact the petrochemical and pharmaceutical monopolies in this country, of which he's well vested in each. And I think he's a vampire. I don't think he's an American. I think he's a vampire willing to suck the life out of all us victims in order to remain powerful and in a powerful position. But let me take this opportunity right here. Wherever this gets shown, invitation, I am pleased and honored to be in the presence of one of the most brilliant men in the United United States.
This gentleman next to you,
Jack Hare is author of Emperor Wears No Clothes, and so much more than just an author. A researcher and a dedicated and diligent activist, and a man who I know for a fact is responsible for tens of thousands of people in this country being able to come out of the closet and stand up out of the darkness and stand up out of oppression and despair and lives of quiet desperation, and be able to point to the source of knowledge and the truth and the point of light that this man right here is personally responsible for putting together. I would not be where I am today were it not for Jack Hare. And I know that a lot of people would not be walking tall and with dignity and a sense of pride and a sense that they do no wrong by communicating with Mother Earth through the herb and in other fashions. And this man right here is responsible for as much of it as I know of. I'm sure other people deserve credit to have helped him out. But this man right here is one of the most brilliant people in the United States today. And I hope someday that this country and the people in it will reward him appropriately for what he's done for freedom and individuality and civil liberties and Mother Earth in this country. I want to take that opportunity right now.
Does that mean I get free grass for the rest of my life?
No, I was going to ask you. Hell no, I got to make profit, son.
That's one of the I'll do the rest.
I got to start robbing you.
Here, let me show you something you can take back and we can give you better photos. This is Mr. Henry Ford in 1941 with Popular Mechanics magazine showing off his car made from hemp.
Oh, is that when the whole car itself was made from hemp?
And it says so right there in Popular Mechanics, 1941. Is that nice? One more deal in the car. That's an irretrievable. They should have never let us find that one.
Oh man, that is. Let me tell you right now, this is not the case of a blind hog snuffing out an acorn every once in a while. This is dedication and intelligence. You know, I think Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. This man right here has sweat his ass off.
Oh, yes, he certainly has.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a lot of good teachers. And this man wrote a book that I read that was one of the really, Michael Aldrich had written some of the greatest work on hemp long before I even really understood hemp. Well, he wrote it in '77. The Kentucky hemp. I read the Kentucky, what was it?
Marijuana feasibility study.
It was fucking blew my mind away.
About that, yeah.
It was by adding that and that and the prospectus. So he is not somebody who needs to come to me to learn about hemp. I learned a lot of my hemp from him.
I was born in it, Jack.
Having a vehicle is nearly an essential part of life. Why not find a more environmentally friendly option? Well, Henry Ford's first Model T car design was built from hemp, and it was running on hemp fuel. Ford grew this car from the soil up. His car was using hemp plastic panels and parts, which is actually 10 times stronger than steel on its impact strength. It makes you wonder, why aren't other car manufacturers using hemp? Henry Ford had just over 40,000 cars using hemp fuel and that were made from hemp. This used only 10,000 acres of hemp to do. Even with planting all of this hemp, it actually helps our atmosphere as it pulls up to 4 times more carbon dioxide than trees do, which in return helps fertilize the soil that the hemp plant was grown on, as it gives nitrogen to the soil. This is something that we like to call a natural cycle fuel, releasing emissions and toxins into the air. In return, the hemp that's being grown will catch those toxins and emissions and carbon and actually turn it into nitrogen for the soil to be fertilized. Henry Ford had his Model T car made in 1941, and it had been running on hemp fuel while the body of the car was made from hemp, which includes its panels, sidings, and a few other little parts to the car. These panels are composed of 70% cellulose fiber, which made this extremely sturdy and flame resistant. They would even hit the trunk of the car with an axe to see if it would leave any marks or do any damage. To everyone's surprise, it didn't at all. The hemp fiber is an extremely strong fiber. Ford knew hemp could produce vast economic resources if widely cultivated. This car was also thousands of pounds lighter than steel cars were and almost 10 times stronger than the steel cars. Also, it's a green natural cycle fuel car. Unfortunate for us and Ford, of course, the big corporations and power that be at the time, like the gasoline industries, cotton industries, oil industries, all lobbied extremely hard to drop the price of gas while also making hemp and alcohol illegal. They attacked hemp and were able to coincide with the prohibition of alcohol and hemp. This was basically a death sentence for Henry Ford and other companies that were just trying to use hemp in replace of other materials. Unfortunately, at this time, Henry Ford had to go on to relying on gas and steel for their cars. It is very unfortunate because Henry Ford was really trying to change the world with hemp. He really seemed to be ahead of his time. It is too bad that the other industries at this time were so afraid of competition and change. This could have helped the world a lot. Hemp can help save the world. Now, luckily hemp is legal and being used for well over 40,000 different products and different uses. Right now, even BMW has been using hemp for a few years now. They'll use them in their panels, especially their door panels. They use them because they are stronger, lighter, and more safe than metals and steels. As a quote from the BMW Group says, BMW Group and its partners have systematically further developed the use of fibers such as hemp, PNAF, and flax, providing them with natural fiber lattice structures. But the BMW Group is for another video, as they are awesome in their own self and they are helping expand the use of hemp in vehicles once again. All in all, we hope to see more car companies, vehicles, other industries start relying and using hemp. It is cheaper in the long run. It will be stronger than what you're already using. It's going to be lighter, flame resistant, mold and mildew resistant. The list goes on. We here at the Hemp Spot are hopefully going to help get hemp out to everyone. Thank you so much for watching.
Working for Jack Hare was like, I don't know, different than I'd ever experienced before. Being in the straight world where you're working with regular customers and clientels or focus on everyday things that don't even pertain to cannabis. And then all of a sudden, working strictly with cannabis people and people who are active in the hemp movement, it really is as different as night and day. Working for Jack, too, one of the cool things about Jack was every day was a party. I mean, I really couldn't say I was working, right? I mean, let's get real here. I was showing up at an office that was focused on ending marijuana, cannabis, hemp prohibition. And my boss was one of the most well-known pot smokers in the world. And he had access to some of the best cannabis ever. And so you know that when I showed up every day at work, the first thing we did was smoke a joint, and we smoked throughout the day. And I'm working with books about ending marijuana prohibition. And I'm talking to activists who are focused on ending marijuana prohibition. And we're putting together festivals that are focused on ending marijuana prohibition. And then I take a break from all of that and I smoke a joint. And then I go back to working on the end marijuana, hemp, cannabis prohibition initiatives and books that we're getting out and t-shirts. I mean, you really couldn't say it was work. It was love. It was a passion. And before I knew it, it was what I just got up and did by habit every day. And I've done so ever since I first started working for Jack Hare. And it's been a lot of fun. It really has been interesting. The people that I've met along the way has been amazing. Just wonderful, loving souls at almost every turn. There's a few bad seeds here and there. That's true in every path you have in life. But I have been blessed that my involvement in the hemp organization, the Help End Marijuana Prohibition organization, I have been lucky enough to be surrounded by very good, loving, caring people who are also focused on ending not only prohibition, but stop destroying the planet. Because, using this wonderful plant, you really can create all these wonderful products. but it is a great way of saving the planet and a natural way of taking care of ourselves and providing for all of our creature comforts. So anyway, working for Jack here was a real treat, and I wanted to have an opportunity to let you meet Jack in some of the same ways I did, and like Jack also enjoyed telling people about how he first got high, because Jack really wasn't into smoking cannabis up until about his 30s or something. He'll tell it here in a minute, but Jack was pretty straight-laced. He was really focused on other things in life. He had really no interest in anything about hemp or marijuana or cannabis or even any part of that culture until he met a handful of people, which he'll tell you about too here in a little bit. But meeting Jack here, no matter who you were, really did have an impact. He had a charisma about him. He had an energy that just vibrated the whole room. He had a joyful spirit that was infectious. He had a lot of knowledge up inside his head. His research abilities was amazing. He was a true historian. His book was considered, and may even still be considered, the Bible of the hemp movement. But anyway, one of the first things that Jack will tell you as you become good friends with him or get to know him better is about how he got high for the first time. So why don't we let Jack tell you about that now?
I did an inhale, and I went, and I said, it doesn't work on me. And she said, no, you got to take it and hold it. Well, I went, but I still had to take it down my lungs. I said, it doesn't work on me, I don't feel anything. So she let it slip and slide by, and about a week later, she gave me, she said, I've got a joint here, I'm going to smoke. Would you want to smoke with me? And I said, yeah. And I blew it out. I said, I'm telling you, it still doesn't work on me. And by now, I thought I was better than the smoke, that I thought only weak souls get high. And I was made of such sterner stuff. And she came home one day, and I was at her pad, and we were dating for about like 2 months at this time. And she rolled up, she said she bought something called Acapulco Gold, and this was the summer of '69, when pot was as hard to get as you could get from Mexico. I mean, I wasn't even going to be really aware of that until the following couple of years, what a drought there had been in the summer of '69. But somehow she had gone and spent an enormous fortune and bought an ounce of pot called Acapulco Gold. She'd spent $20 on this liter ounce of gold, of Acapulco Gold. She rolled up like 3 or 4 joints of this Acapulco Gold. She said, now this is the very best. I spent $20 for this. And I said, okay. So I held it in. She says, am I holding it in right? And I thought, well, it's not going to affect me. Let it out. And you get that little, take another. He said, hold it in, I'm holding it in. It down slowly through your nose this time. I said, wow. And you feel your whole head. And then she did this, and by the time she passed it back and forth across the table like 8 or 9 times, so, she's going to pass it back to me. I am so high. And she's going to pass this back to me. She said, hold it, yeah. And we smoked it down to the little piece in the end. We were burning her fingers, and she lit another one. And I'm so totally, I have no idea which hand is my left and which hand is my right. And she puts, this is 1969, she puts earphones on me. And I probably had listened to earphones a total of 5 minutes in my life up to then. And she put them on me, and she has me lay down, I got a pillow for my head, and I'm laying on the rug, and I'm listening to music. One of the music is Tijuana Brass. And I've got this, my eyes closed, and I see each note coming out like a cartoon, coming out of each instrument, mixing with the next instrument, and I'm seeing the notes go up and play with each other and go, and I'm going, wow, I never even knew music. I didn't even know that there was music. I said, no wonder people love music so much. I said, I can't believe this. And I said, wow, this is the greatest thing of my life, And I just smoked like a joint and a half, 2 joints of this, one hit after another, and then smoked another joint. And I am high for the first time in my life, and anybody that remembers their first time when they really got loaded, and it really took effect. Not the first time you smoked, but the first time it really took effect. It's like, it's like another world. You step through the looking glass. And when we were finished, I remember we laughed and laughed. This is the greatest. This is the best I've ever felt in my life. And why is this illegal? And she said, I don't know.
So, what I have to say, quite honestly, about Jack Hare is that my life before Jack Hare and my life after meeting Jack Hare is as different as night and day, and in a good way, in a really good way. And it derailed me. I mean, I tell you, it took me into a whole different direction than I ever expected to go. I certainly was intended on being a comedy writer or anything to make people laugh, not focusing on ending hemp prohibition. And it took a lot of people around me by surprise, but not a whole lot by surprise. I mean, everybody knew I really loved the ganja. Oh boy, do I love the ganja. And we can talk about how I love the ganja some other time. But it was the information I learned through Jack Hare about the ganja plant's sister and cousin, hemp. Oh my golly. The buried history that Jack Hare unearthed. And so when I started the TV series, it was to help raise the voice of the California Hemp Initiative. That was the whole reason for doing it. I figured it'd be like 4 segments, maybe 5. We'd have Jack on as a guest, Captain Ann on as a guest, Chris Conrad, Dennis Perrone, Dr. Todd McArea, a couple people that wanted to get in front of a camera and talk about how we needed to, and then we take that material, because it would be on community cable access, public domain, we could then use it in our TV ads, radio ads, and that made it easier for us to combat the big dollar opposition that Jack Hare was facing with the Help End Drugs campaign that was being waged by Washington, D.C. and on so many groups. It was just, wow. So it was great to have Jack on as a guest, of course, when we started the Time for Hemp series, which makes it possible for me to introduce you, the audience, to Jack in a way like I met him, and other people had a chance to meet him, with his enthusiasm about needing to end hemp prohibition and all the things that he had learned about the history of this plant and the value of this plant to humankind.
I had a guy from the DEA said that, you can make fuel out of anything. We can make it out of eucalyptus leaves. I said, you can grow 100 million pounds of pot for every 1 pound of eucalyptus leaves. He said, you can still make fuel out of it. The DEA isn't playing with a full deck.
No.
They're just a bunch of fascist people that want to enforce the laws, as far as I can see, so they can get more power.
Okay, now from what I understand, that it's true that you have financed the movement, financed the book, got the book out there, got all the word out there. You have been the one out there just kicking ass,
Yeah,
right?
nobody can beat a fact. I found that out when I was a little kid. My dad told me about all his relatives that were killed during World War II, and he said, don't you ever put up with anybody shoving you around. I had cops beat me up in L.A. so many times. I used to make the headlines in the paper here in the metro section all the time, out there petitioning for this thing. They used to do all sorts of weird things. And we decided to take all my wealth and all my ability to make money and finance this movement. And my book seems to be doing a quite a bit of a job.
Underground book
in the country.
Yeah, very congratulations on that, too.
Can I put in
that.
a plug for the book?
Yeah, please.
Okay, you can get the book. It's called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. It's the Hemp and the Marijuana Conspiracy. And you can get it from Hemp, H-E-M-P, 5632 Van Nuys Boulevard, Van Nuys, California, 91401. It's $12.95 plus $2 mailing and handling to Hemp, 5632 Van Nuys Boulevard, Van Nuys, California, 91402. $12.95 plus $2 mailing and handling. We'll get it right back to you. All the facts and documentations are in there. so that nobody has to guess about this. You'll be in sure ground. You'll be clear when you communicate about hemp.
Okay. Is there any closing statement you'd like to make at the moment, Jack? You got just about 30 seconds or so.
Thousands of kids have come and told me their whole families have come back together over hemp, that they've read the book, brought it to their moms and dads, and they're together again, smoking with their parents. So I'll tell you, the time for reefer madness is over.
Yay!
And the time for reefer gladness should begin.
All right. All right. I'd like to thank Jack for being on our show. It has been educational and eye-opening and fun.
Thanks, guys.
And I hope that this show has an ability to bring the truth out to the nation. I have been told that we are now being shown in about 25 states, 47 cities, and our audience is growing. If you have anything that you think would participate in what we're doing here, we are focusing soon on the victims of this war. Jack has friends who are suffering as victims, don't you, Jack?
Till the next century, they're in prison for doing something, smoking a flower from the ground.
And we want to find some way to get them free, and we want to put faces on these victims. Please contact us. If you're aware of people in your area who have knowledge that we need to bring to our show so that we can enlighten the people who are observing us, please do. I know Jack will have other people to direct to us in the future, and I hope to have him back on our show. Anytime you want to come back, Jack, please don't even hesitate to ask. Come on back.
All right.
And I ask that our audience out there tell their friends about the show and do everything you can to get the truth spread out that Jack has worked so hard for. He's moved 17 years and he's still going, and there's a reason for it. He believes in what he's doing, and it must be true. Hemp is the one plant that is going to save this planet. And I believe that with the help of people like Jack, Captain Ed, and all the other people who are working very hard, this will come true. I ask you to get out there, raise your voice, let them know that our brothers and sisters must be set free. And remember, the next time you see me on your television show, you'll know that we're going to get together and teach you everything we can about this plant. And it will be time for hemp. Thank you.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for him. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for help! Yeah.